All right, we're talking with Air Force veteran Glenn Howard, DevSecOps Engineer and franchisee owner for XP League. So, Glenn, thanks for being here today. You got a lot of cool stuff you've done in the Air Force over the years. Take us back and tell us what you did.
Hey Joe, good to meet you. I'm a 21-year Air Force veteran. Started out in munitions, turning wrenches on the flight line. Then realized very quickly that I had an affinity for computers. I retrained into computers, and that kind of guided my path towards cyber. And I did cyber operations. I got to do some really cool stuff. Actually went into JSOC as a part of that and did like tier one special operations as a cyber operator. And then finished my career as a first sergeant, guiding the next generation of enlisted folks. I retired in 2018 and then turned right around and came back as a government contractor. And I still support the military doing cyber weapons development.
Yeah, dude, the cyber stuff going on nowadays is just
It's a
crazy.
huge industry.
Some
Yeah.
of the stuff the U.S. military and NSA pulled off in Afghanistan and Iraq, just and then watching what's going on with Israel, it's just it's incredible. I mean, it's great to watch. I love all that stuff, but it's amazing how much time, energy, money, and personnel we're putting into that whole arena. So it's pretty cool stuff. So when you retired, was it fairly pre-planned? You knew it was coming ahead of time, had a lot of time to prep and get ready, and did you were able to smoothly roll into a government contracting job?
I was. I mean, there were definitely bumps, right? I had a plan about 2 years. I had made my decision within around 2 years that I was going to retire. And so I kind of had my plan in place. I made sure I got my education. You know, I took advantage of all my military benefits and got my bachelor's and master's degree. I got my required certifications. I got a CISSP, which is kind of the gold standard for cybersecurity. And so I had all that ready to go. I made sure I talked to mentors that helped me curate my resume, and I started interviewing roughly about 6 months prior to retiring. One good suggestion is never interview for your dream job first and expect to get that job. I made that mistake up front and I bombed it. Absolutely bombed my first job, which was USAA. I wanted that job. I thought I had it in the bag, and it was the worst interview I'd ever done. So it takes time, right? So after about 5 or 6 interviews and getting comfortable doing that and understanding how to do my elevator pitch and really sell myself properly and having a good curated resume,
Mhm.
that's when I started getting callbacks. And so by the time I got ready to actually retire and transition out, I had a job waiting for me. So essentially, I retired on the 30th of January, and on the 1st of February, I walked into a contractor job at a six-figure salary. So I was ready to rock, right?
Yeah, yeah. I tell you, man. I remember talking about interviews. Just sidebar, like years ago when I was interviewing for airline jobs, like my first two were just horrible. Like I bombed them, and they asked me a couple of questions that kind of threw me off, and it just went downhill from there. But by the time I hit the third one, man, I really hit my stride, and the fourth one, knocked it out of the park, and the fifth one a few years later. But yeah, like it's going interview prep and all that is a real thing, depending on the kind of job
Absolutely.
you're interviewing for. And if you can go interview for maybe go even interview for jobs you don't really want, just to just for the experience. And yeah, don't fire that silver bullet, on your dream job and until you're already prepared for that. So certainly can relate to that. So
Yeah, even now I interview for jobs periodically just to keep myself sharp. Not because I want the job, just because I want to stay sharp.
yeah, yeah, it's definitely a thing.
Yeah.
uh, so uh Okay, so anyways, you got a good contracting job, and things start flowing well. So um then you started somehow in there you must have gotten interested in this entrepreneurship thing, getting a side hustle going. Where'd that come from?
So I've always had that bug in me. I when I was in JSOC, I was in the DC area, and I got the opportunity to live with some of my relatives who were entrepreneurs, very successful entrepreneurs.
Hmm.
And if you've ever been in the DC area, that's a very like those people are all about the hustle, right?
Oh yeah.
And so that got me hungry for that. And so I left DC with that bug, and I couldn't shake it. Even with a successful contracting gig, I knew that that was something that I wouldn't be satisfied until I tried it out. And so in 2023, I took the plunge. I already had a business plan already prepared. I knew I wanted to do something in education because I teach college at night on the side. I teach online. Being a first sergeant, being a military leader, I knew I wanted to do something in that vein of education. And being deployed and growing up Gen X, gaming was always a part of my DNA as long back as I could remember. So I wanted to fuse those two things together. And so I started looking into esports as an emerging industry
Hmm.
and seeing that it was a $200 billion industry overseas and really starting to make its way into the US. I wanted to get on the ground floor of that. And San Antonio was a definitely an emerging market for that. So I started really exploring that. And uh, I looked into my own business first, but then I also started looking into franchises because franchises have their own infrastructure, they have their own branding. The barrier of entry is much less because of that. And so I decided to go with a franchise as my initial entry point into
Yeah.
that.
Interesting. All right, we're back talking with Air Force veteran Glenn Howard with XP League. So, Glenn, you knew you wanted to get into, you decided to go with the franchise model, uh, less barrier and cost to entry, something a little more secure, uh,
Right.
something with a system in place already. How did you find XP League, and why did you decide to go with something like that?
Well, I started shopping around online looking at different esports, first privately owned esports venues, and then I started looking into different franchise models. And there were only two national franchise models out there. Funny enough, they were both co-owned by the same owners that split off and started their two individual businesses, two individual franchises. And I'll leave their names out of it, but XP League was the one that I chose just because of the branding and their business model as far as positive youth esports being a STEM program. It really spoke to me, and that's what I wanted to go with. The franchise fees were relatively low. They were still under $50,000 to get into. It just seemed like the right move for me. I'm not made of money. So it definitely was something that I could get into relatively easy.
Hmm. Awesome. So,
Yeah.
can you go over some of the numbers with us? Like, uh, I think you said how much your cost of entry was.
Yeah.
What does it typically cost for a kid to join with, it's like a monthly fee to join? And then some of the coaches that you hire, are you able to share some of what it costs to hire them and what they're getting? Okay.
So one of the things I did is I wanted to make sure that I had a good quality program. And so I went and I scouted out professional college students who were competing in esports already. And obviously you have to pay, people well in order to maintain a good quality staff.
Hmm.
And so I went and found college students that were competing in esports. I hired them at $15 an hour, which is a pretty fair wage out here. And then I professionally certified them in the Positive Coaching Alliance, which is a national sports certification. And then I give them, roughly about 20 hours a week to do the coaching. And what the kids do is they subscribe to a monthly membership. It's roughly about $150 a month. And what they get is they get a professional jersey, they get an hour of professional coaching with that coach, and then they get to compete in Little League style events. So think about like Little League baseball or Little League football. We're doing the same things with Fortnite, Valorant, Overwatch 2, all the major esports titles.
Hmm.
And what we're promoting is, non-toxic gameplay. positivity, STEM content, and the biggest thing is the social aspect. So instead of them playing at home without talking or seeing anybody, they're playing in an esports arena with their peers, having a good time, and it's a safe space where they can be themselves and have fun, and it's a just a nurturing environment for kids 7 to 17. And we professionalize them. We get them ready so when they want to go into high school or collegiate esports, they already have a leg up on their peers.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
I wasn't, it doesn't surprise me, but I didn't know something like that existed. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a $200 billion industry. It is huge. A lot of parents still think of it as a novelty. And so, what we've been trying to do is educate parents and kids into what true esports is. I mean, it's going into the Olympics. It's really a huge part of our sports ecosystem. And so, the more people understand that and understand that it's not just brain rotting games like a lot of our parents thought it was when we were playing games as kids. That it's actually something that can be monetized, that kids can make money off of and brand themselves. There are esports players out there that make $1 million, right? Young people.
Hmm.
It is a huge industry.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so most of your XP League game stuff takes place at an actual physical location that you've set up.
Yes. So we have a location that I built in Helotes, Texas, and it's just an amazing space. We built it out to be very calming and welcoming. We cater to a lot of kids with like ADHD and high functioning autism, and so we made sure the space is welcoming to all sorts of kids. That where it's not overstimulating. It feels very welcoming to them. And so, like the walls are double padded, so it absorbs the sound. The sound doesn't bounce off. We have very high end equipment. Me being an IT guy, I know how to select the right equipment that isn't overly flashy, but it's very high functioning equipment. I'm a cybersecurity expert, so I have things locked down just the right way. So we make sure our equipment's protected. So it's just an amazing space, a little jewel right there in Helotes, Texas.
Yeah. Helotes. What big city is that near?
Right outside of San Antonio. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just on the outer 1604 belt.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
And so, like, how many kids do you have in your league on a monthly basis? Like, what's it?
Yep.
And how many kids can you have in the facility at once? Those kind of things.
That's a great question. So we have 35 active members right now. I have the capacity for upwards of 60.
Mhm.
We have virtual members too. We have kids that that join us all the way from Austin. That's the beauty of this sport is that you can have virtual members. So I could support. I have the infrastructure to support upwards of 100 kids,
Mhm.
but my capacity in my arena supports upwards of 60 just because of how we're structured.
Yeah. So you don't actually have to go to the physical location if it doesn't work for you.
That's correct. Yeah. So we do support that. We understand that, San Antonio is a big city, and so we let the kids play from home when they need to. But obviously, the biggest benefit is being there in the arena and getting that socialization with
Mhm.
our coach and with their teammates and everything.
Yeah. So how's the coaching structured? Does each coach have like five kids, or is one coach there at the facility per day?
Yeah, so we're open Monday through Friday from 4 to 8, and then Saturdays we're open all day during our tournament play. So we have coaches dedicated to each game. We have coaches that are assigned to a team, and they coach through that team. So I have 15 coaches. So I have a big staff, and I also have a shoutcaster too. So we stream everything on Twitch, so the kids can show their parents, "Hey, this is what I did this week."
Uh-huh.
Uh, and it's national. We have over 1,000 followers on Twitch that watch us do this gameplay every week.
Really? And
Yeah.
and the coach actually so you put teams together and the coach is actually coaching the team, coaching the
Mhm.
individuals, compete against each other. You competing against other
Other
XP
XP leagues.
locations and that kind of thing?
Yeah. So we have 68 locations across the country and Canada. And so we compete against those other locations in Swiss style tournaments. And then at the end of the year, there is a national final in Florida that the top teams get to compete in. And those teams get scoped out by professional like esports organizations. We've had teams that have been picked up by pro leagues, and they get sponsorships. They get the ones that age out that turn 18. They get picked up by pro leagues. Kids could get scholarships into college for esports. So it's a pipeline into this professional industry.
No kidding.
Yep.
Early on, you mentioned something about overseas. What does the U.S. market look like in video games compared to the rest of the world? Is there a lot
Uh,
more going on overseas than what we're seeing in the U.S.?
100%. Yeah. So Korea, Germany, Europe. So esports has been a huge dominating market overseas for a number of years. And so it's just really starting to really make its way into the US over the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So we're it's really starting to emerge here in the US in the tech oriented cities like Dallas, Austin, California. And now it's creeping its way into San Antonio. But Korea was where it really came about and took off, and it just kind of spread from there. So League of
Okay.
Legends was like the biggest game, and then Dawn of the Ages and Overwatch. Overwatch was like the big one that really exploded across the world. And so we're seeing that now kind of really come and dominate the US now.
Are there some games you guys stay away from?
Yes, absolutely. So we don't do rated M games like Mortal Kombat or any bloody games. We're kid friendly. So we make sure that we stay positive oriented.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's rated M, we draw that line in the sand that we're only going to stay within those positive kid friendly games. So Smash Brothers, Rocket League, Fortnite. Fortnite's probably our biggest game. Those games that are positive, that are STEM related, so like Minecraft, Roblox, those sorts of games.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
no Halo and
Halo's actually been okay like that. We have a demand signal for that, but it really doesn't translate into a an esport title yet.
uh
So we're always evaluating new games to see what's like what does the market want to see.
mhm.
But we try to stick with the ones that have the highest market value. So like Valorant is a big one, League of Legends, Overwatch 2. So those are big ones,
Yeah.
right? But we're always looking at new ones to see what's the next one that's going to take off.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
And so what was your cost of entry with all this? Because setting up the facility must not have been cheap by any means.
Oh, no, no, it wasn't. I had to have a lot of capital behind me. So
Yeah.
it was a little over $100,000 for my initial investment. That was my franchise fee to get into the franchise. And then it was about $85,000 to buy all the equipment, get the space. And post-COVID, things haven't gotten any cheaper. So commercial space has gotten expensive. Everything's just gotten a little more expensive. So full investment right now, I'm about $150,000 in.
Hmm.
I haven't quite gotten that investment yet, back yet, just because the market, the economy and everything is still kind of rough. But we're steadily growing. We're still out there. We're about to celebrate our first year being open. So, all things point to us, doing well in the next 3 to 5 years. We just got to get through this rough economy patch and everything, and just keep doing what we're doing. The parents love our program, the kids love our program, and that's where we're making the biggest impact is in our community.
Wow. Okay. Well, if somebody wants to find out more about XP League, how do they do that?
It's simple. They can just Google us, XP League Northwest San Antonio.
Hmm.
It'll take you right to us. We have a website. We have a huge Facebook presence, where we're very active on social media. Yeah, come check us out.
And if somebody's looking to get into an XP League franchise, can you go over some of the details, what that process looks like?
Sure. So they can go to the main website, xpleague.com, and there's a page that they can fill out to gain some more information. And then there's a team that can help them get that information. A lot of people get steered towards me, where they can talk to me or other franchise owners about our experience to get more detailed information about how to get into the franchise.
Yeah. And how many franchises around the US and Canada did you say they had?
Currently 68.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're steadily growing.
So is XP League in South Korea also, or they have other leagues going on there?
They have other leagues.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're currently in the US and Canada right now.
And do you guys compete with some of those other leagues outside the franchise?
We have. We have done those. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Huh. It seems pretty interesting. You got, some Texas kids competing against German teams or South Korean teams, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a worldwide industry. It's huge. It's amazing to see because we're all inclusive, right? You can have people from all over the world joining in and doing these amazing games.
Hmm.
Language isn't a barrier. Physicality isn't a barrier. Gender isn't a barrier. So it's great.
Interesting. Wow. And then what's some of the feedback from the parents side of things with having their kids in these leagues?
Oh, I mean, it's amazing. The parents love the fact that their kids are getting that STEM content. They've seen modifications in their behavior as far as being positive, helping their teammates out, just being better citizens overall.
Hmm.
And we've seen challenges, especially with kids going back to school. They're still struggling to kind of reintegrate back into school since COVID. And so giving them another outlet where they can be among their peers, have mentors that can help them not only in gaming, but also in other aspects of life, and seeing people like them as grown-ups that can kind of help them steer through those challenges. They really appreciate that. So the parents have received us very well. They really enjoy the program.
Awesome. Well, to wrap things up, if you were talking to somebody on their way out of the military that's looking to get into business, entrepreneurship, maybe even franchising, what kind of advice comes to mind?
I would absolutely say have a plan. Don't go half-cocked and say, I'm going to start a business, right? Because that's where businesses fail. So you want to have a solid plan and have somebody review that plan, and then find a mentor that's already in business as an entrepreneur and really gain some insight into what experiences they've gone through.
Hmm.
And then you got to have some capital behind you, right? Either have good credit so you can get a small business loan, leverage the fact that you're a veteran, right? Take advantage of those benefits that you get as a veteran to get small business loans.
Yep.
But you really have to have a solid plan and take your time, right? Don't rush into it, right? Because you really want to make sure you measure twice and cut once.
Hmm.
So many people go half-cocked and think that they have a good idea, and unfortunately, a lot of businesses fail because of that. So just take your time, find a mentor that's already in the industry, and bet on yourself. It is a lot of work. I will say that, right?
Yeah.
So these are not turnkey solutions. You're going to be working twice as hard, but the payoff and the experience is so worth it.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah,
hey, Glenn, thanks for sharing your veteran entrepreneurial success story and look forward to seeing your future success out there. Looks like pretty cool stuff.
absolutely. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
All right. These two veterans are Oscar Mike.
Bye bye.